Today, CSIRO and Boeing have collaborated to create a roadmap highlighting the opportunities of creating a sustainable aviation fuel industry in Australia. Joining us live now is Heidi Hauf, Boeing's Regional Sustainability Lead. Appreciate your time, Heidi. Thank you. Just start at the beginning here. What is sustainable aviation fuel actually made from? And do we have an industry, a sector here in Australia working on this?
Hi, Ashley. Thanks for having us. It's great to be here. So sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF as we refer to it, is jet fuel that's made from renewable resources and waste products. Things like used cooking oil, tallow, municipal solid waste and agricultural residues. And it's a fuel that can be dropped into existing platforms, aircraft and infrastructure. And across the life cycle, it can bring down the carbon emissions up to 85%.
Right, okay. And how does it compare cost-wise then for an airline to use sustainable fuel compared with traditional fuels? Are customers going to have to pay more for their tickets to see airlines go down that path?
So what we've seen in the very small amounts of SAF production around the world today is it's really only thriving as a production industry in jurisdictions that have policy mechanisms in place that incentivise this new industry. And we have some examples to look to with both the US and the EU well ahead of where Australia is. And these policy mechanisms signal both demand side signals of targets, but also incentives and subsidies to help with the green premium.
Okay, I assume that there could be some security consequences too here. I mean, we import most of our fuel, don't we, at the moment, which is sort of a national security challenge. The government no doubt would be pretty keen to be able to rely on homegrown options for their own purposes as well.
Yeah, that's right. So we see SAF and a domestic SAF industry in Australia not only having benefits to regional development and economic opportunities, including export, but it helps us to have domestic fuel security. We currently import over 90% of our jet fuel needs. And this having a domestic industry could really help us address that insecurity.
So what sort of realistic timeframe are we looking at where we could be flying in a plane here in Australia pretty regularly with fuel that is sustainable?
Well, in the report, we've highlighted the opportunity that Australia has. We have abundant feedstocks that are really inviting to other parts of the world that are looking to secure feedstocks for their own industries. So there's a real moment in time opportunity for us to act. And what we know, as I've mentioned, is the policy instruments being put in place really trigger the industry to start. And we are already behind the US and the EU with a lot of our feedstocks being shipped to these jurisdictions to help make biofuels, including SAF.
Okay, so fuel's one thing, but what about other options? Do you think battery or fuel cell powered planes could be a realistic option, or is that still a bit of a pipe dream in terms of, you know, when in the foreseeable future we could see a shift to those sorts of alternative technologies?
Yeah, so at Boeing, we like to say it's going to take everything to get us to net zero. And that means deploying the technologies as they mature across different parts of the aviation industry. We believe that the advanced technologies such as electrification and hydrogen and their hybrids have real promise in the near term and medium term for regional and short flights. But for long haul flights, and Australia is really dependent on long haul flights, sustainable aviation fuel is really the only answer for the foreseeable future, certainly to 2050 and beyond.
Heidi Hauf, really appreciate your insights. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks very much, Ashley.